Sup YT, your favorite bro here, continuing my mission to help you not suck. Today we're going to be covering the class quickly becoming my favorite in Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, the Asari Adept. So if you like rocking mind bullets and making your own dubstep soundtrack as you game, this is probably the class for you. But now you're probably asking yourself, Wired, I'm new to this game, how the monkey flippin' crap do you unlock the Asari Adept? That's easy, just don't have a life. For serious gamers, play, play, play. For casuals, pray, pray, pray. Spectre packs are the name of the game. Inside you get a guaranteed rare item, sometimes even two. The Asari Adept is a rare level unlock, so the chance of getting her is kinda low, but when you do get her, she's like butter. We finally got an agenda, so let's stick to it. First, a warning. This build is not for someone new to Mass Effect. It may be even too precise or risky for someone who has some moderate experience in the game. This character is a high-risk character to play, and you'll soon see why. First, let's discuss the powers. As most of you dudes know, adepts tend to be late bloomers, so if you're struggling in the early game, it's not because you suck, or maybe it is. Either way, all biotics kinda suck at the early game, unless you're a Vanguard, which is just cruise control for easy mode. So some early level tips for you guys ripping your hair out or struggling, worry not. When you're low level, sometimes it's a good idea to bring a big ass gun to the fight instead of your mind. The Asari Adept is a slow mover until the teens leveling wise and struggles to detonate anything in sight, so don't be afraid to make up for the lack of biotic power with some good old fashioned firepower. Powers, everyone has them, some people don't use them. They really don't. If you can measure the skill of the average Mass Effect 3 player, well, you'd be questioning why NASA tested on chimps and not these people. Don't be that person. I won't let you be. At least if you play an adept, I won't. You soldier folk are on your own. Alright, so by now you've seen a very lonely, neglected skill at the bottom. I counter that with the all-time best response. Barriers are for baddies. If there's anything the Asari Adept excels at, it's the lockdown. Like a walking prison bus, he sweeps over the battlefield, freezing everyone in time and space, only to explode their face. That was rhymage. Stasis. Love it. The utility on this ability alone makes it the Asari Adept's best move, and its go-to move. It has infinite uses, from locking down choke points to locking down hordes of enemies at the same time, to saving your partner's candy ass. It's the Swiss Army knife of biotics, however it's far from perfect. While it works on the majority of enemies, anyone wearing some armor is going to laugh at your feeble attempt to control them. But that doesn't take away from making this one of the strongest powers in the game. Speaking of it, the game. Cerberus just lost it. This power really has to be maxed. I didn't say it had to be maxed first, but it has to be maxed in due time. Let's check out the internals of stasis now. There's really no choice to make until rank 4. I always go for stasis strength. That's not to say duration is horrible, but if you want a 2-headshot with your gun without someone falling over like a limp fish or a drunken Mariah Carey, or you play with other people and you're one of those teamwork guys, it's all the best to get strength. When you're trying to biotic detonate a whole group of guys and some guy runs in with his assault rifle like Rambo, not only is he screaming like an idiot, he's spraying your guys down and making them all fall to the ground and lose the stasis effect. Okay, so rank 5 of stasis is the biggest decision you're probably going to be making on your Asari Adept, because there is no wrong choice. I prefer bonus power. I did the math, kind of, like in my head, which is pretty much good for nothing. I did the math either way, and if you proc a bonus power 1 time out of 10 casts, it is equal to 1 recharge speed. But if you proc a bonus power even twice out of 10 casts, well, that's just gravy. So this is really up to you. Remember, there's no wrong choice. Rank 6, good old rank 6. This is the reason why Asari Adept has been giving people boners since the release of the demo. It's a no contest. Stasis bubble. Turns your stasis into a set it and forget it trap. Not that kind of trap. Good God, increase your flexibility even more, allowing you to trap people. I should stop using that word. Even behind cover with its awesome radius. Also, it can set up multiple targets for a biotic explosion. There's just nothing bad about Stasis Bubble. If you can find something, you can tell me what it is, because I'm still looking for a bad thing to say about Stasis Bubble. Our next ability is Warp, your secondary setup ability and Armor Rip. The biggest plus on Warp is the faster setup it delivers than Stasis, allowing you to detonate any enemy after applying it. The only problem with Warp is it doesn't allow you any control over your subjects, so while it's cooling down, you're probably going to be shot at. Warp lets you set up the strongest biotic combo in the game. A Warp Bomb is actually more powerful than a Stasis Bomb, but it incurs more risk. Great for 1v1 setups on armored, shielded, and barriered enemies, or setups on targets behind cover. Warp gives you the flexibility of travel time, but also the negativity of it too. It can be dodged at any range, and sometimes doesn't curve around the corners exactly the way you want it to. Either way, this ability has to be maxed, and I'll tell you why soon. First up, rank 4. Always take Detonate. Detonation is the bread and butter, not blood and butter, nasty, bread and butter of the Asari Adept. You're going to want to buff your Detonate as much as possible. It's your main source of damage. Always go for Detonate. Rank 5, I go for Expose. I want to get as much power damage on the target as I possibly can at any time. The most bang for our buck. Expose gives you that. Now, lasting damage. People that pick this think Warp is a damage ability. It's not. Warp is for debuffing. We don't care how much damage Warp does on impact when it hits the target first. We only care how much damage it does when we explode it. So I always skip on things like lasting damage or damage in general. We're not worried about Warp's DPS, we're just worried about the detonation after Warp. Alright, next up is Pierce or Recharge Speed. Not really a big decision in my opinion, but some people believe that this is another big decision you have to make. Pierce is great, but like I said, we're not worried about the damage Warp does when it hits the target. This increases the damage to barriers and armor when Warp hits the target. Sure, it'll rip off a little more armor, but you're always going to rip off way more armor with a detonation anyway. So why not detonate faster? Why not get your things out faster? Why not make your efficiency the best it can be? That's why I always choose Recharge Speed. Faster detonations, faster setups, more detonations, more damage. Last but not least is Throw. Throw is just awesome. Not only does it cause epic ragdolling, it's one of the most useful offensive biotics in the game. Not only that, it's your main go-to trigger for most of your biotics explosions. When fully upgraded, it does great damage to troops, has great utility abilities, and even staggers heavy enemies for a quick escape, just in case you're in a pickle. I love pickles. It's by far the most spammable ability we also have, having a cooldown relevant to the blink of an eye. In fact, it's so spammable, even a miss with Throw isn't such a big deal, because 9 times out of 10, you're already throwing another one at them, and their dodge roll animation hasn't even finished yet. Let's talk ranks. Throw is very much an ability that doesn't really shine until you max its rank. As far as rank 4 is concerned, I always go for Radius. The ability to hit multiple enemies at the same time is always going to amount to more DPS than a measly 40% force boost. Another perk of the Radius buff is the lowered margin for error. 9 times out of 10, even if someone dodge rolls because of the Radius buff, you're still going to hit them. This is great for detonating multiple people with biotics, or also knocking back a wall of people, or putting over some layer damage on more than one enemy. Rank 5, an obvious one. Throw's low cooldown is why it's our trigger ability, so of course we want better detonates whenever we use it. Obvious, obvious, obvious. Get detonate. At rank 6 with the damage and force upgrade, Throw makes people so dead. A fast recharging death machine, Throw becomes the most powerful biotic ability in the game. A radius attack that knocks every living thing in front of it the crap out of its way and just destroys everything it touches. Let's do a scenario. Use them imaginations. Let's say we have 3 guys stasis. Now if we just had regular Throw with the force upgrade, we're probably going to guarantee 1 kill. But with the damage upgrade and the radius buff, we're going to be guaranteeing 3 kills. So that's the difference between basic Throw with the force and the recharge speed upgrades and death machine biotic cannon Throw with all the damage upgrades. And that's why I say Throw dominates almost every single difficulty. anyone with red health never gets a chance to fight back, and anyone with shields, barriers, etc. gets staggered, so they can't fight back either. There's really nothing Throw can't handle other than top end enemies like mechs, atlases, geth primes, things like that. I'm seriously such a nerd for Throw, I can't say enough about it. But this video could be 20 minutes of me talking about Throw, or it can be a guide. Alright, the last thing we're investing our points in isn't a power at all. In fact, it's just a passive. Asari Justicar is great because it buffs what we want it to. It gives you a power damage boost and a smidge of weapon damage. Not only that, the most important thing it does for you is it increases your weight capacity and lowers the weight of your heavy pistols, which is the primary weapon for an Asari Adept. Points in this are pretty straightforward. You want to hit everything that gives you weight capacity or power damage. So at rank 4 we want damage and capacity, obviously. Rank 5 we want power damage, and at rank 6 this is where it gets a little more subjective depending on your choice of weaponry. If you hate slow weapons like the Carnifex or the M77 Paladin handgun, and you prefer different weapons like say the M8 Avenger, assault rifle, or even the Phalanx pistol and things like that, you're not going to need rank 6. Phalanx or M3 Predator pistols will give you 200% recharge speed even without the 30% reduction, as well as the M8 Avenger. That's what we're looking for. So if you don't want to pistol snipe or don't want to use the heavy pistols that fire slowly, don't bother getting rank 6. Instead, invest those 6 points into the first 3 ranks of finesse. Now I know no points in fitness scares a lot of people, but I promise you, I'm not leading you astray. Not only will having less survivability make you a better player, it'll also make you a better player in your particular role on the battlefield. The Adept is naturally squishy. You're squishy. Deal with it. You're a mid to long range combat character. You pistol snipe and use biotics to kill people. You're a biotic assassin. You're not a front running gun nut trying to quick draw everybody with your slow firing pistol. You shouldn't be playing that way. That brings me to the power that is the most important of them all, that is available to all classes that you should use, abuse, and always take advantage of. Cover. The only thing more important than your powers is your loadout. Your loadout affects how fast your powers recharge, and on a pure caster like the Asari Adept, that's pretty important. Just remember the sweet spot of 200% to 190% and you'll be fine, regardless of what weapon you're going to choose. For those of you going into fitness, you're probably going to have to stick with rapid fire weapons or some of the lower end heavy pistols, including the M5 Phalanx or the M3 Predator. Also a great choice is the M8 Avenger, one of my favorite guns in Mass Effect multiplayer for its lightweight and utter versatility. However, if you're following this build word for word, I suggest the M6 Carnifex hand cannon or the M77 Paladin for its ability to one-shot anyone in the head on red health. The mods are pretty straightforward. We want to keep our lethality on our pistols and also boost the accuracy for guaranteed headshots, so make sure to use the pistol high caliber barrel and also the scope. If there's any weapons I tell you to stay away from, it's pretty much every weapon in the SMG tree. I don't know what BioWare was thinking with these weapons, but they're all terrible. They all have ridiculous muzzle climb and don't do enough damage. I bet you figure this guide's over now. You have your build, you have your loadout, you're ready to go. But you don't have your tactics. What if you don't know how to set up a biotic combo? What if you don't know what a biotic curve is? Don't green up, because this guide's not over yet. The first technique you're going to want to master is biotic curving. That's the act of changing the angle of a power so you can hit people behind cover, objects, things like that. Because believe it or not everyone's going to be standing in the middle of the map tap dancing, waiting for you to just kill them with biotic powers. Some people actually take cover once in a while. So when this rarity happens, you're going to need a way to hit these guys even when they are hiding. So that's where biotic curving comes into play. Biotic curving is just manipulating the angle at which you cast your biotic. So it has to heat seek onto the target. That means aiming a little bit above the target if you're above them to make it come straight down on their head like that, or to the left or right. It's really simple. You guys should get it really quickly. but make sure you do get it, otherwise you're useless. Next, let's talk about biotic detonation. Probably the most important skill that you're going to need to learn is how to detonate your target. Biotic detonation is literally the act of detonating a target that's already affected by either a tech power or a biotic power. This makes it very flexible to play with other casters, because every class can work together in some way, shape, or form. But today we're talking about self-sufficiency and how can you detonate your own powers. Our first bread and butter combo is stasis plus throw. Stasis plus throw is our go-to. It's pretty much the one you might be using the most. In fact, it should be the one you're using the most. It has a decent sized cooldown, but it also does the least amount of damage but allows you the most control over your target. Our second combo, which is also our fastest, that's not including stasis recharge bonus procs, is warp plus throw. It's also our most damaging combo, which is kind of funny that it's our fastest and most damaging. You'd think that would be the complete opposite. This combo does massive amounts of destructive damage, but it offers no control over more than one target. So if you're in a group of 3 guys and you warp plus throw combo, you're probably going to kill all 3, but you're also probably going to take a buttload of damage while trying to do it. But that's not to say it's not effective. It is my favorite combo after all. Our last combo is obviously stasis plus warp. I don't use this combo very often. I mostly use it against specialized units like the Phantom to rip off a little bit more barrier before we explode. And I think you should use it in the same method. You really shouldn't be using this that much because of the really slow cooldown. Also, another thing you have to remember is don't neglect your gun. It's there for a reason. You can stasis 3 guys and probably by the time stasis recharges have headshotted all 3 of them. As far as the Asari's heavy melee, just be smart about it because it has a large recovery. I think that about wraps it up. The only thing I can do now is play the game for you. So basically, if you can't play the Adept after watching this guide and seeing all these tips and tutorials, then, well, the Soldier's always an option. So as usual, thanks for watching, guys. Remember, rate, comment, subscribe, like, hit buttons, hit all kinds of buttons. It's a button bonanza out there. Hit them up. And of course, thanks for watching once again.